I'm Mac. I'm sorry, the intro just never gets old to me, but hi everyone. Welcome back. Season 3, episode 2. Feeling a little under the weather, so bear with me today. But today I just kind of want to catch you guys up on what I've been up to and where I am as of today. It's interesting. I spent the last month in California, and oh my gosh, coming to Boston, coming back to Boston after that has been very difficult. Just the weather, the ambiance, the aura, everything was perfect. And it really changed my perspective on my life and what I have going on and what my future looks like. So that's what I'm going to talk about today is just catching up with me, talking a little bit about discipline and what it takes to get to where you want to be. So anyway, I appreciate anyone and everyone that's joining us this month on Save the Best for Last. And if you're new around here, well, welcome. This is season 3. Every season looks a little different, but yeah, fun stories from California, and would love to get into what it takes to get to where you want to be. Let's go. All right, back to the regular scheduled program. And this episode will probably be pretty short. So if this is your first episode, then it'll probably be a nice little intro because, like I said, not feeling so great. Should have honestly, in hindsight, recorded this a week ago. But like I said, it's been a lot coming back. But California. So it's interesting. If you're new here, I'm originally from Cincinnati, studied at Ohio State, which is in Columbus, about 2 hours north of Cincinnati. And then after about 4 years in Columbus, I took a hiatus and went to Cincinnati and traveled for about 9 months and then got an opportunity to move to Boston. And that's where I've been at for the past 9 months or so, June of 2025, so whatever that math is. And Boston's been incredible. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of developing, which is really what I wanted out of coming here, is just continuing to grow in my 20s. Although I'd say it's been incredible overall, there's been a lot of challenges, and a lot of those challenges I appreciate because that's what molds you into who you are and where you want to go, which is a little bit about what I want to talk today about, is who you are and where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And I feel like this week specifically has been a really difficult week for me. But I was talking to my boss earlier and I was like, I really appreciate weeks like this because they teach me what to not do again, right? And I look at everything I've done in Boston. There's been a lot of things I've done here that I'm like, why in the hell did I do that? Maybe not a great person to be around, maybe not a great environment to be around. There's many, many different storylines we could cover as far as that goes. But overall, you can't learn unless you fail. And I think that is a really important message of today's conversation is if you want to grow, if you want to get anywhere, if you have dreams, if you have ambitions, if you have this, that, and the third, please don't expect it to be easy or perfect or anything close to either of those things because it's not. And I don't know. I find joy and I find excitement in loss, in failure, in pushback, in anything that's perceived as negative, I, in a weird way, enjoy. And I've said this many times on my podcast, but I've always been very comfortable with being uncomfortable. And when I'm in the moment, for an example, if I made a mistake at work and my boss is like, WTF. Obviously, while they are giving pushback, it's not fun, but it's the aftermath that's fun. It's like, okay, well, shit, I fucked up. I now know that and will redirect my decisions in the future based off that fuck up. And I think as I transition into today's big conversation of California was, every time I go to California, it's a reset for me. And when I'm in a reset mode, I think a lot, but I don't think at all. And while I was in California, I lived in the moment and I really turned all the thoughts off. And I just really, really enjoyed and soaked up what that state and the people I was with had to offer. And, another cool aspect of this story is I've lived in numerous places and there's people that I've met along my entire journey that are for lifers, as I call them, as Kim Kardashian calls them. Those are friends that don't trickle away, they don't fold, they're always going to be around. And I think if you think about yourself and your life, you can really depict who is who. There's friends that are for a season, there's friends that are for maybe a couple seasons, maybe a whole lot of seasons, but those friends do not compare to the for lifers. And sometimes people that you think are for lifers aren't, and vice versa. Some people that you don't think are for lifers are. And living in Columbus, I don't think I would have ever expected the people that I made relationships with to be in that for lifer category that are. And when I look back and I put myself into each and every moment of those 4 years of living there, the people that I expected to be around are the farthest from that. And the people that I expected to be long gone, I just went on a trip with for 2 weeks, So it's very interesting. And I think that alone should speak with everyone. Let things play out. Don't force things. Don't rush things. And that's advice I need to take myself, is when on last month's episode, I referenced, excuse me, guys. See, man, I don't know. I'm going to get through this. I am sick and tired as hell. But I met someone in Boston that subconsciously I knew was never going to be around, like wasn't a for lifer, right? I knew that subconsciously. But it's almost like the high of certain relationship dynamics is what fuels you to go a million miles per hour. And what I mean by that is typically, I'm not saying in all instances, but typically relationships that are super intense and so much happens in such a short span don't have longevity. And I think about my most recent legitimate boyfriend who really laid down the fundamentals of what I want in a partner. I think part of where we went so wrong is that everything transpired so quickly. Like we met on let's just say a Friday. We saw each other again on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday. And then 2 weeks later, I was basically living in his house. And there was a lot of aspects of that relationship on why it didn't last. However, I think a big portion of it is everything happened so quickly. And I think all good things take time. And don't get me wrong, there's always nuances. There's always situations that don't speak to this. But I'm saying overall, in all generality, You got to let things marinate and you got to let things play out. And as I talk about this trip to California, and like I said at the beginning of the episode, what you have to do and sacrifice to make your dreams a reality and having discipline and everything of that nature, is like a lot of times in all these situations and all these circumstances I talk about, time is the common factor. Meaning, I personally, and many of us, don't like to wait, right? Think about an amusement park, which, side note, when I was in California, I did go to Universal and Princess Poppy did skip with me around a park, and it was literally the most amazing thing ever. But anyway, when I was at Universal, obviously, it's much nicer to just walk right on a ride than having to wait in line. But something about the waiting in line like builds up the hype, right? And me and my homie that were at the park together, like, we were waiting in line, we got to talk about things we like, we don't like, talk about old memories, talk about, you know what I mean? And that was meaningful for me. If we could have just walked on every ride, we wouldn't have had those interactions, those conversations, those experiences. And I know that's a dumb way or a dumb comparison, but I think it does translate. In life, when you're in those waiting periods, whatever that means to you, you're supposed to be getting something out of that. Right? And, you know, as we talk about California, a lot of people in my life know I really want to live there. And when I was in that, I'm so sorry. When I was in that hiatus limbo period of living in Cincinnati, oh my God, first of all, that was the longest 9 fucking months of my life. Let me start with that. And it felt like 9 years. It really did. And that's because I really had to sit with a lot of thoughts and a lot of pain of how did I get to this place? But I'm telling you, the development that happened in the basement of my mom's house is like nothing else I've lived through. And I feel like even my emotional intelligence and my mental state and a lot of aspects of who I am as an individual dramatically grew during that time of having to quote unquote wait in line. And, you know, I even think about me being in Boston's in a weird way, kind of waiting in line. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. But take everything for what it is. Let things cook. I mean, even another analogy, here I go with the analogies, is like if you think about meals, anyone that comes from like a cooking family or has had like insanely incredible meals, a lot of those family recipes that like go down in history are those that take like all day to make. And there's a reason behind that. Like, good things don't just happen overnight. Be patient, have trust in the process, find outlets that do occupy your time, and everything's gonna turn out. But back to California. Oh, singing Sweet Home California all summer long. And let's talk about that. Don Toliver dropped an album as I'm literally on my way there, or right as I got there. I don't know, I think it was February 1st, which is funny. There's always like a banger of an album dropped either on my birthday or the day before and the day after, but I said it. Anyway, California for me is one of those places, and I say this so much that anyone that's close to me that's listening to this is going to be like, God, when will she shut the up? Every time I go, my soul stays and my body comes back. And I swear, since my very first time of going, which was years and years ago now, I swear my soul's always lived there and my body's just traveled around. And I think there's a lot of factors that play into that. Let's talk about seasonal depression for a little bit. I don't want to make this the whole conversation, but I do think it's very significant. And now as I was talking to my good friend that lives in California, And we were talking about sunshine tax, right? Because California isn't cheap, but let's also talk about Boston isn't cheap either. So, and I'm not paying any sort of sunshine tax here, but that's neither here nor there. There's something about the sun being out 90, probably 5% of the time that is very fulfilling to me personally. There's many people here in Boston that love Boston, thinks East Coast is the best coast, even though it doesn't rhyme. So that's either neither here nor there. And they live, eat, sleep, breathe, cough, backflip Boston. Like people here love it. Same with New Yorkers. New Yorkers think New York is like the end all be all, God's greatest gifts, everything. They can feel that way. That's totally fine. However, I like stability, I like consistency, and I like the goddamn sun. Okay? And it's so wild. Like, I left Boston a couple days after a major blizzard to go out to California. And it was wild. Like, landing there and being there immediately, I'll never forget. I had to sit at the airport for quite some time because my flight was early, and I had a rental car, and it was through Turo, so it was a time frame thing. And so I had to just sit outside the airport for like an hour and a half. And I'm telling you, I would sit out there for 12 hours because it's just the atmosphere, the peace, the serenity, the views, the sunshine, the blue sky, the way in which people operate, which, don't get me wrong, there's amazing people and not so amazing people in every city, but seasonal depression, which was the original point here, is a very, very real thing. And I think a lot of people can speak to that. And being in a place like that for 2 weeks was really eye-opening in the midst of a blizzard where home is currently. And it was interesting, that aspect of it. It was, waking up every day. It was so funny. My poor friend, shout out to you. Every morning, like, I'd wake up and God bless all my friends that are like sound asleep, and I'm like cranking open all the blinds. Like, I needed sun. Like, it was seriously non-negotiable for me. I wanted to be outside. I told them, like, going into this trip, I don't give a damn what we do. I just want to be outside. And there were certain parts of that trip that were planned, and plans didn't go to plan, and all the things. But moral of the seasonal depression is it's real, and it makes me reevaluate, where I do want to settle down and where I do want to have a family, because that is a controllable factor. You can choose where you live. People can argue that and be like, as a child, obviously not, but as an adult, you control your own reality. And I really suggest people to not only get out and live in places they've never been or never seen, or different countries, or whatever that looks like for you, but also remember, like, whatever it is that motivates you, drives you, and is going to build your future of your dreams and what drives you is in your control. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us are very excuse driven, and I'm very grateful that I've just never been that way. I take feedback very seriously. I'm very critical on myself, but I'm constantly thinking what's next, which can be hard sometimes because nothing's ever really enough for me. And I'm always wanting more. And it's like, okay, been to Boston, what's next? And in all reality, I really need to find comfort and peace in the place that I'm at, which can be difficult for me. So, work in progress. But, God, California is just, it has me in this state of just every time I go there, I feel like I can dream again. And it's not that my dreams aren't existent when I'm not there. Like, there's things I want to do in my life. There's goals, ambitions, dreams that I have. But when I'm there, it feels so real. Like, wow, this could really happen. Where everywhere else I've lived, it doesn't really seem as feasible. or doable or yeah. And, I have to give my friend credit, and he better be fucking listening because I'm giving a shout out here. But one of the people I was with out there is a really good friend of mine, met in Columbus, was a part of that storyline, which it's funny, a lot of people out there I met in Columbus. But anyway, he went out for a dream, and it has not been easy. Not going to go into his story because it's not mine to share. But what I will share is that he's really shown me, like, you can fucking do anything. And even though it hasn't been easy, he makes it work. And he makes it work with ease and steeze and just confidence and always remembering, like, what's meant to be will be, and don't let your dreams die. And that our whole time together was so inspiring of like, what the fuck am I doing? And, that's why even as I go back to this podcast, this was a dream of mine for so long, and it's still not what I want to be in the slightest. And as I was thinking about, like, what am I going to talk about? And I always just end up speaking my mind. But there's so much change I want to do to this podcast. But until I do it, I'm just talking about it. And that has no significance, is not weight bearing. There's nothing to that. And that goes for everything in life. If you want to move, move. Don't just talk about it. If you want to write a book, write a book. Don't just talk about it. If you want to make a song, make a song. Don't just talk about it. If you want to run a marathon, run a marathon. Don't just talk about it. Like, fucking do it. Sorry, Nike, I stole your shit, but that's real. Just do it. I would say 75% of the time, that's obviously a guesstimate as hell, things don't happen for people because they don't even fucking try. And I think that's the weirdest thing ever. I do. I'm sorry if that hit and you're like, damn, she's talking about me. I am. Like, why? Oh, well, I don't have money. Okay, well then stop spending money on X, Y, and Z. Stop getting that coffee every morning. Stop going to the mall once a month. Stop anything that's getting in your way, right? If you want anything, just like everything in life, anything you want in life, if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. Just like with relationships, if someone wants you or you want someone, you'll make it happen. But if you don't do it, then nothing's going to happen. And I think that's, where I'm at. Even I talked a little bit about this podcast. Okay, I want, the social media to look different. Okay, well then change it. Like, you sitting and just complaining, Mackenzie, isn't getting you anywhere. Oh, well, I really want to work on this relationship with this leader of mine at work. Okay, well then pick up the phone and call her. Like, again, what are we doing? We're just talking. And I'll give pushback to anyone that, is anyone that knows a Spider-Man meme where it's like 4 Spider-Mans lined up in a circle and everyone's pointing at each other. I think that meme is representing of so many different things in life, but I think accountability is that meme. Everyone loves to point fingers at someone, something. Oh, well, I can't move because I have no money and I'm in debt and this, that, and the third. Okay, I hear you. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. Well, what are you going to do to get out of that so you can move? Oh, well, I've been trying to lose 50 pounds for 6 months now. And, I try to do the Stairmaster, but it's just so hard. Okay, well, how are you going to get to a place where you can't do the Stairmaster? Like, people are so, I don't want to say everyone, but so many people love to point fingers at something. And they love to put the blame on something or someone. And they can't look in the mirror. They can't reflect. And I will say, because I'm on the other side of the spectrum where I reflect and look in the mirror too often and I take accountability for everything, that's not necessarily good either. However, find a balance. Like, you own your reality. You create your own reality. And that's what it is. If you want to sit here and make excuses, that's totally cool. That's totally fine. I'd stop listening to this podcast immediately, though, because that's just not how I'm wired. And this is about my journey, my development, and people that want the same thing. Not necessarily the same exact life, but they are dreamers and they want to get things done. And they understand how precious life really is and how you only get one. So yeah, California, man. What all did we do? So I get to California, immediately touch down, and me and my homie went to that whole trip was so interesting and like so eye-opening in so many different ways. Like, I'm telling you, the characters I was around and with was so critical. And I don't even really, now that I think about it, I don't need to really explain everything that happened on my trip. I just more so want people to take away the importance of relationships and really just letting them work out. Right? Because to give more context, I shouldn't say that. There's some things I shouldn't say. But just know that everything works out how it's meant to work out. And yeah, that's that. But anywho, this was a really short episode, and I just want to end this on the note of whatever you want in life is in your control. And if you find yourself making excuse after excuse after excuse, ask yourself why. What is it that's holding me back? Who is it that's holding me back? Because you can do it. The difference between people that make it and that don't is the ones that don't stopped. And if you don't stop, you will inevitably make it in whatever it is that you're chasing. And I think it's really important to remind yourself that it's okay to not be where you want to be right this second. And that everything's happening for a reason. One more thing before I end this quick little episode, unlike last month. So it's wild. The California trip happened. Got to see a lot of friends I haven't seen in some time. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see my really good gal pal, Sabrina. And Sabrina, I hope you know how much I love you and appreciate our friendship. And you, like many people in my life, inspire the hell out of me to follow my dreams and put myself first. And I appreciate you. So if you're listening, I love you. But it was amazing. It was an amazing trip. I cannot lie. I got to see my brother, got to see his fiance, got to see homies that mean more than the world to me. And everything was very intentional and beautiful. And it was a very, very special trip. And I come back to Valentine's Day, which I feel like typically, I don't know if I'd be sad necessarily, but like I think about Valentine's history for myself, and I've always been with someone, really, until this year. And so I think about that and I think, I should be sad, but I wasn't. My cup was so filled from that trip because I literally got back the day before, I want to say, and I felt so loved. And I recognize love doesn't mean someone you're sleeping with, or love doesn't mean someone you're in a committed relationship with. Love stems from care, from nurturing, from efforts, from being intentional, it's so much bigger than a committed relationship or sex or pleasure or what I think when you think of love is love. I think I have deeper love for those that I don't have relations with, meaning sexual relations with, than those I have. And I find that to be interesting. And I think circling back to the beginning of this conversation, when things are immediately not to get on a sex conversation, but not that a one night stand is bad, and not that, meeting someone and jumping into things quickly is bad. However, when you really let things cook, like we talked about, and you wait in line, it just makes the relationship have so much more depth. And it's not just what you see from the outside. And I think with certain circumstances and certain dynamics where I've met people and it's like, oh my God, this is so great. Well, it's so great because you've only known them for 6 seconds, right? These people that I was in California with, I've known for, let's see, I just turned 23. Minus 3 is 20. 4, 5, 6 years. I've known them for a good amount of time. My brother I've known my whole life. Like, of course, these relationships and the love that's tied to these things has so much more depth because the longevity. So anyway, where I'm going with this is Valentine's Day weekend. And then a couple days later was the Lunar New Year. And I know I touched on this a little bit in the last episode, in the year of the horse and the snake and all the things, but I just wanted to revisit because I didn't realize, because of all the things I had going on, that the year of the snake also started the same day as Ramadan. Which Ramadan, to anyone knows, starts at night because you eat and then you fast while the sun's out, which has been something I've practiced on and off throughout my life. But I've also, for the majority of my life, practiced Lent, which is of Christian faith, which fell the next morning. So all within 24 hours was Lunar New Year, Ramadan, and Lent. And whoa. Oh my gosh, now I might not be off this podcast for another 30 minutes. Whoa. What a spiritual aligning time to be alive. And I don't think that's happened in, like, I don't know how long, but not in my lifetime, and it'll never happen again in my lifetime. And I found that to be very, very interesting and also very, very intentional of where I'm at in my life. And so I did decide to fast, and I did decide to get something up for Lent. I'm practicing both, which I typically do. But I also, like, the year of the horse is very significant in the importance behind it. And interesting enough, that is my sign. So I was born in 2003, but my birthday is January 31st, which is also really fucking crazy because your zodiac, not yours, your astrological animal based on your year starts, it's like, okay, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, right? All years. But the calendar that this falls on starts February 1st, not January 1st. So, for example, just because I know this off the top, the year of the horse, which it's like every X amount of years, I don't know, I'm not even going to guess. But 2002 is the year of the horse. 2003 is the year of the goat. Well, again, even though 2002 is the year of the horse, 2002 in the Lunar New Year calendar goes until January 31st of 2003. Because, again, in their calendar, in this spiritual astrological calendar, the new year doesn't start till February 1st. So technically I am year of the horse, but by year I'm the goat, and I'm literally I'm January 31st, right? I'm right as one ends and another picks up. So I find that very, very, very intentional, very meaningful. That means a lot to me. And so that's really set up my year on how I'm about to move. And I really feel aligned with the aspect of last year up until, I think it was the 16th or 17th that the new year started this year. And Ramadan started, and then the next day Lent started. I really feel that up until that day, I shed everything. And now I have to really fucking take charge and take the lead and get what's mine. And only I can do that. And I bring this up, not that you should practice Lent, or not that you should practice Ramadan, or not that you should believe anything. But all I'm going to say is if you want to make something happen, it ain't just going to happen. You have to initiate change. You have to stand for change. You have to raise your hand and be like, hey, I fucking want this, right? So I think as we look at this year and look at what we want and how we want to grow, well, then we need to take initiative and claim what's ours. And I'll say at work, like, it's been a really difficult week, but I see it as a difficult week because I took the bulls by the horn. And I had it previously, which is now coming back to bite me in the ass. And I think Lent and Ramadan are about discipline, sacrifice, and, putting your focus to God. I am not religious, but I am spiritual and I do believe in God. And again, that's not what this conversation's about. But I think Ramadan and Lent are very intentional. And I think it's really good to have discipline in all aspects of life. Like, if you want to succeed in anything, you have to have discipline, or it's never going to come to fruition. And so I think it's important for me to fast for 40 days because that's the reminder in my life of discipline. And same with Lent. As I give a specific thing up that's very, very important to me in the times that I'm thinking about eating or I'm thinking about what I gave up, I then can take that time and that energy and focus it on what is it that you're working towards. And that's how I want to leave this message today. Be intentional. Sacrifice. Have discipline. Put in the work. Just fucking do it. Because you sitting here and just being like, oh, it's the year of the horse, yay. Just because it's the year of the horse doesn't mean you're riding it. Okay? Wow, that was kind of hot. But seriously, the year of the horse can fly by and you do absolutely nothing. That's in your control. Ramadan came, Lent came. I could have been like, oh, cool. I'm not fasting this year. I'm not a practicing Muslim. I'm not a practicing Christian. No. That's not what it's about. That's not even what religion is about, having the discipline. It's not necessarily like what it's become, which that's a whole nother day's worth of conversation. But if you want something, go get it. And you know what you have to do to go get it. It comes down to, do you want it that bad? So with that being said, this was a relatively quick episode. I appreciate your time. I really look forward to the rest of this season and all the crazy shenanigans I'm going to get into. I hope you've all had a wonderful Lunar New Year. Ramadan Mubarak for anyone celebrating. Happy Easter to anyone celebrating. And yeah, we will be back to circle the block next month. But until then, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye now.